It was a normal Thursday night when I came home from working late. Cassie was already asleep, and the only light left on in the living room was a dim floor lamp. I walked gingerly into the kitchen, intending to make a cup of coffee to refresh myself. It was then that I caught a glimpse of Cassie's cell phone, which had been left on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up with a new message alert, and I walked over to it by mistake. It was a text message from an unknown number, the content of which made me feel like I was on ice. "Darling, I'll be thinking about you tonight. Your voice, your scent, and the warmth of you in my arms. I can't wait for time to stop forever at the moment we embraced." I felt a wave of dizziness, and the coffee cup in my hand clattered to the floor and shattered. Cassie woke up from the commotion and came into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. "What's wrong, Ethan?" she asked with a hint of impatience in her weary voice. I was speechless, holding her cell phone, not knowing how to speak. Cassie saw the cell phone in my hand. Her face changed instantly. "Ethan, how can you look at my cell phone? It's my privacy." She stepped forward and grabbed the phone, her tone cold. "What's going on, Cassie? What does this text message mean?" I pushed down my anger and tried to sound as calm as possible. "That was just a joke text from a friend." Cassie's eyes flickered, not daring to look me in the eye. I've never felt so angry and humiliated as I do right now, and I've been married for 5 years, and I've given everything to this family. We'd been married for 5 years. I'd given everything to this family, and Cassie had betrayed me emotionally. "Don't lie to me, Cassie. It's not a joke. Tell me, are you having an affair?" Cassie was silent in the face of my question. The air in the room seemed to freeze, and I could almost hear my heart beating. After a long time, Cassie sighed and said softly, "Ethan, I'm tired. Can we talk about this some other time?" "No, we have to talk now. I have a right to know the truth." I could hear my voice trembling, and I lost all sense of calm and self-control. Without another word, Cassie silently turned and headed back to the bedroom, leaving me standing alone in the messy kitchen. I felt a wave of exhaustion and loneliness that I had never felt before. How could our marriage have come to this? I thought we'd always been a happy couple, but now it seems like I never really knew Cassie inside out. I was starkly picking up the pieces of coffee cups on the floor, and my heart felt like a knife in my throat. At the moment I learned the truth, I realized clearly that our marriage was facing a huge crisis. And what should I do? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Cassie's text messages with the man and her evasive attitude. All the clues pointed to the fact that her relationship with that man was no ordinary friend. I tried to convince myself that it was just a misunderstanding, but deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. I had to talk to Cassie, even if the truth might kill me. The next morning, I made breakfast and waited for Cassie to wake up. She had obviously been up all night too. Her eyes were blue and her face was haggard. "We need to talk." I opened the door. Cassie sighed, "Ethan, I'm sorry you saw those texts. But it was nothing really. It was just a flirtatious text from a friend. There's nothing going on between me and him." "Nothing? A common friend would flirt with you in that tone?" I felt a surge of anger. "Don't treat me like an idiot, Cassie. Tell me the truth. Who was that man? What is your relationship?" Cassie was silent, her eyes wandering. I take a step closer and look her straight in the eye. "We're a couple, Cassie. Couples are supposed to be honest and open, no secrets. And if you do betray me, I want to hear it from you. You want the truth, don't you?" Cassie suddenly looked up with tears in her eyes. "Okay, I'll tell you the truth. The man's name is Daniel, and we met at an art show. We had a great conversation, and he made me feel the passion and heart of a long time ago. Yes, we flirted and even kissed, but I swear, we haven't had a substantial relationship." I felt dizzy and could hardly believe my ears. Anger, humiliation, sadness, all mixed together. I could hardly breathe. "Why, Cassie? Why are you doing this to me? Is something wrong with our marriage?" My voice trembled with pain. Cassie sobbed, "Because I'm lonely, Ethan. You're so busy working all day long that you barely pay attention to my feelings. The passion between us is gone, and I feel like a stranger, not your wife. I long to be pampered and romantically touched, but all you care about is your programs and bug fixes." Her words hit me like a hammer in the heart. I never realized that Cassie was so unhappy with our married life. I thought I was working hard to run the house, but I neglected to realize that what my wife really needed was emotional comfort. I'm sorry, Cassie. I never thought you felt that way. I bowed my head sadly, but I have my own problems. You know, the software industry is very competitive, and you can get knocked out if you're not careful. I have to do my best to maintain our current life. So your career is more important than our marriage, is it? Cassie choked. Have you ever thought about how I feel? I didn't marry you to be a provider of money. I married you to be a life partner who can share my joys and sorrows. I was speechless. Cassie was right. I was so focused on my career that I neglected my wife's feelings. But what could I do? I couldn't just drop everything and fulfill all her needs. Maybe we both need to calm down, I sighed. I'm going to work. I'll come back tonight and talk about it. With that, I left the house without looking back, leaving Cassie alone. I needed time to think about it and to seek advice from others. Otherwise, I really didn't know what to do with our marriage. I came to the office in a state of confusion and mechanically threw myself into my work. Even though work has always been my safe haven, it was hard for me to calm down at the moment. I couldn't concentrate at all, and I was replaying my conversation with Cassie over and over again. Hey Ethan, are you okay? My coworker and best friend Chris asked with concern. Apparently, my unusual behavior had caught his attention. I hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to talk to Chris. After all, he was my best friend and might be able to give me some advice. Here's the thing, Chris, I sighed, telling him about finding out Cassie cheated on me last night. Chris listened, was silent for a moment, and patted me on the shoulder. I'm sorry, Ethan, and I know this is a huge blow to you. I know this is a huge blow to you, but you guys need to calm down and talk about it. Maybe Cassie was just confused and didn't really cheat on you. But she admitted that she was unhappy with our marriage and even had an affair with that man. I said bitterly, I feel that the trust between us has been broken. Chris frowned. Ethan, any marriage will have its ups and downs. The key is to learn to communicate and understand each other's feelings. The key is for you to learn to communicate and understand each other's feelings. Cassie is right. You are too focused on your work, and it's hard for her to feel neglected. I was deep in thought, and Chris's words made me realize that maybe I was partly responsible for the problems in my marriage. So what do you think I should do? I asked. Give each other some time to calm down and talk it through. Chris suggests, try to understand Cassie's feelings and show her how difficult it is for you. You're a couple, and you should support each other through this. I nodded my head and hugged Chris gratefully, feeling much more at ease with his counseling. After work, instead of going home immediately, I went for a walk on the beach. I needed to be alone to think about my marriage to Cassie and Chris's advice. The sound of the waves lapping on the beach was soothing, and the salty sea breeze was blowing against my face. I recalled the time when I fell in love with Cassie and got married, and how sweet and loving we were at that time. But now, our relationship has drifted apart due to various practical problems. It dawned on me that maybe Cassie and I had lost sight of the fact that marriage is a business. We were so focused on our own careers and needs that we forgot to take care of the relationship. Even though Cassie hurt me, I should reflect on my own negligence in the marriage. I felt a sense of relief when I realized that. Maybe there was still room for Cassie and me to save our marriage. As long as we can let go of our preconceived notions, communicate openly, and understand each other's positions, there is hope that we can rebuild trust and revitalize the relationship. I looked at my watch and decided to go home and talk to Cassie. I couldn't run away from the problem anymore. We had to face the difficulties of our marriage together and try to find a solution. When I walked in, Cassie was curled up on the couch, staring blankly ahead. She managed a small smile at my return. Ethan, you're back? Her voice was tired and sad. I sat down beside her and gently held her hand. Cassie, let's talk. I think we both need to reflect on our marriage. Cassie nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm sorry, Ethan. I shouldn't have betrayed you. I really regret it. But I'm really lonely, and I long for you to care about me more. I sighed and took her into my arms. I was at fault too, Cassie. I'm at fault too, Cassie. I was so focused on my work that I lost sight of your feelings. We're both to blame, and we both need to change. Tears slid down Cassie's cheeks and wet my shirt. You're right, Ethan. You're right, Ethan. We have to work together to save our marriage. That night, Cassie and I opened up and talked about our feelings and thoughts. We agreed to spend more time communicating and to work on our relationship. Over the next few days, I began to reflect on my role in the marriage. I realized that I needed to strike a balance between my career and my family. So, I started to adjust my work pace, avoiding overtime work as much as possible to spend more time with Cassie. I also enrolled in an emotional training program to learn how to better communicate with my partner and how to manage my marriage. I benefited from all the methods in the course, and I have applied them to my relationship with Cassie with remarkable results. At the same time, I am working hard to make a breakthrough in the workplace. I wanted to prove my worth through hard work and provide better security for our future life. As a result of my hard work, I was recognized by my supervisor and I was promoted. Cassie saw the changes in me. She told me that she felt my heart and that our relationship was gradually warming up. She is also trying to change herself, learning to think from my point of view and no longer blaming me for all her grievances. Gradually, the conflicts between Cassie and I became less and less, and our relationship became sweeter and sweeter. We have regained the passion and excitement we felt when we first fell in love, and our married life has been revitalized. One day, I received a letter from my father. In it, he mentioned that he and my mother had gone through a difficult time in their marriage when they were young, but that they had saved each other in the end. Marriage is a practice that requires two people to work together. In his letter, the father wrote, "Love needs tolerance and comfort, but also mutual fulfillment. I am proud of the progress you and Cassie have made, and I am confident that you will be able to work together through difficult times and embrace a bright future together." After reading my father's letter, I had mixed feelings. I realized that perhaps every marriage has its ups and downs, and the key is to learn to reflect and change. As long as Cassie and I work together, we will be able to make each other's lives more complete and our relationship last forever. I showed Cassie my father's letter, and she was deeply moved by it. We hugged each other tightly, feeling grateful and joyful that we had taken another solid step in our relationship. As the months passed, Cassie and I were trying to repair our marriage. We were spending more time communicating, scheduling more activities together, and trying to get back to the closeness we once had. However, even though on the surface things seemed to be going on as usual, deep down, I still had a hard feeling about Cassie's betrayal. I often ask myself, can the problems between us really be solved by deliberately maintaining our relationship? We have put in so much effort, but why do our hearts seem to be getting farther and farther apart? One day, I stumbled upon something on Cassie's laptop that puzzled me. It was some of her diary entries, which showed her dissatisfaction with the current situation and her nostalgia for the past. Reading her heartfelt words, it dawned on me that I wasn't the only one struggling. Cassie was also experiencing the same confusion and uncertainty. Over the next few days, I was deep in thought. I looked at our marriage over and over again and realized that the problem was much more than Cassie's betrayal. The differences in our personalities, hobbies, and values were becoming more and more obvious, and our needs were becoming more and more difficult to reconcile. I began to wonder if our deliberate efforts to maintain this relationship were making each other even more exhausted. Late one night, I worked up the courage to reveal my thoughts to Cassie. To my surprise, Cassie didn't show much surprise or resistance. She was silent for a long time, and then said softly, "Ethan, I understand how you feel. Honestly, I've been thinking about our relationship a lot. Maybe we shouldn't force ourselves on each other, but give each other freedom." We spent the night talking openly and honestly, reviewing the marriage and being honest with each other about what was really going on in our hearts. Although the process was heartbreaking, we were both relieved to know that it was probably the right decision. In the days that followed, we calmly discussed the details of the divorce and drew up an agreement. During the process, we didn't argue, we didn't blame each other, but we were at peace with the outcome. The divorce did not mean the end of our relationship. On the contrary, it is our last blessing to each other, giving each other a chance to find true happiness. On the day we parted, we hugged each other tightly and wept. "Ethan, thank you for everything you've given to this family over the years." Cassie choked up, "Even if our marriage doesn't work out, You will always be one of the most important people in my life. We're still friends, and we're still each other's closest family, and that will never change." I gently wiped away the tears on her face, smiled, and said, "Cassie, I never regretted loving you. You made me grow up and taught me tolerance, understanding, and courage. In the future, we will walk together, just in a new way. Let's work together to create a new and beautiful life for each of us." That was the end of my marriage to Cassie. But our relationship continues in another way. Those beautiful memories, those years of supporting each other, will become the treasure of our life. Moving away from our former home, I started a brand new life. It wasn't easy at first. Loneliness and discomfort often hit me. But every time, I remembered Cassie's smile and the encouragement and support she gave me. Those memories became my motivation to move forward. Gradually, I adapted to the new life and my career was on track. I learned to pay more attention to my own heart and pursue my own happiness. Occasionally, I would talk to Cassie on the phone and share how we were doing. Hearing her voice always gives me a warm feeling because I know that no matter what happens, we will always be there for each other. The story ends here. It tells us that marriage requires constant commitment and management from both parties. And when the relationship is already irreparable, giving each other freedom is not a higher level of love. At the same time, it also tells us that divorce is not the end. Those who once loved each other, even if they can no longer be husband and wife, can still become the most important friends and family in each other's lives. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.